What is up, Unity community, and welcome back to another official Unity live stream here on twitch.tv/Unity and, of course, the official Unity YouTube page. My name is Jackson. I am one of your community managers, and it is my responsibility to bring you all of the live stream content that you see on these channels. Thank you so very much for being here for what is sure to be a fantastic stream. Of course, it's our hope that you come to these streams, connect with your fellow Unity community members, and walk away feeling like you've learned something, you're inspired by something, you're more informed, you're more capable and able to take on whatever challenges you have in front of you. Of course, today's stream, we will be talking to a trailer expert about how to make a video game trailer. Yes, on this channel, we do have a lot of Unity tutorials, but we also like to take a step back and say, what does everybody need to learn to successfully create, release, and maintain a game? And almost every single game that ever gets released has a trailer. I'll ask our guests when they get in here to corroborate, but I think it might be every single guest or every single game needs a trailer. But it's great to have you all here again. Thank you so very much for tuning in. Whether you are watching on Twitch or YouTube, be aware that this is a conversation and we want to hear from you. It is my job to connect you with our lovely guest, bring forward your questions, your comments, all of that sort of good stuff. So keep the chat going, keep everything lively, and keep the energy up. I want to say hello to some familiar names. Of course, we've got SS the Bull, Mr. Awesome, the legend themselves, Michael Saver in the chat as well. Jihad Lem is back. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Over on the Twitch side, we're seeing Kula. We've got Andrew the Day, Golden Character Design, GLH TechWorks, No Socket, to name a few. One of the most satisfying feelings as a community manager is seeing just where in the world everybody is tuning in from. So if you don't mind, take a second, throw it in the chat, and let me know where in the world you are. Again, fantastic to have you here, whether you've been at every single stream or if this is your first one. We do put out streams Tuesdays and Thursdays on these channels. If you want to see the most current and up-to-date schedule, I recommend you check out the YouTube page where we have our upcoming streams listed for usually the next week or so. So fantastic to have you all. I know I've said it a number of times, but genuinely I am very, very appreciative that you are all here. If you are watching this video after the fact as a VOD on YouTube, take a look down at that navigation bar and you can skip ahead to whichever of these sections most appeals to you. Thank you one more time, everybody, for being here. And without further ado, I think it's only right that we bring in our guest, our expert, our fantastic human being. Please welcome to the show for their first time. We've got Derek in the house. Derek, how are you?
Hello, I'm good. I have a cat resting above my keyboard here on their keyboard protector, and I have another cat back there. So if you see a tail crossing the screen, that's why.
Always a good heads up to give us. And just to let you know, Derek, that if there is a cat on screen, we will stop everything to make sure that we get that cat a little bit of spotlight, and it will be a welcome change.
It's the right thing to do.
Yeah, of course, of course. Derek, again, thank you so much for joining us here today. I've been referring to you as a trailer expert. You have self-assigned your title as trailer editor. Can you tell people a little bit about how long you've been working, creating trailers for games, a little bit about your early career and what led you to this path as well?
Sure. I'll try to make it quick. But I've been making game trailers officially a little bit over 10 years. I went to film school at NYU back in 1999. I worked at a movie trailer house called Geronimo Productions in New York City for a few years. They made the trailers for the original Matrix trilogy. Lately, they made the trailers for the Barbie movie. Oh, awesome. And after that, I worked at a DVD distribution house that put out DVDs for Kenshin and Berserk and Voltron. I did that for about 4 years. Then I got laid off, and I worked a little bit for a show called Nintendo Week, which you could only watch on the Wii video channel. You can watch it on YouTube too, because someone said upload it. Then I moved to the West Coast from New York with my partner at the time, and she was working for the Behemoth, who did Castle Crashers and Battle Block Theater and Pit People. They were working on Battle Block Theater at the time, and they were making their own trailers. So when they needed some trailers later on for the game's release, they thought, like, well, Derek is an editor. Why don't we just hire him? And I actually animated the cutscenes in BattleBlock Theater in After Effects, which are little stick figure puppet characters.
What? Oh, awesome.
Yeah, that's a whole story unto itself. But then after that, I moved to Los Angeles, where I worked freelance for this company called Hammer Creative. They do game trailers for AAA games. So we worked on lots of Lego games. They did trailers for Shadow of Mordor. More recently, they did, let me see, they did like Deathloop, and they did the new Indiana Jones game. But at the time, there's a lot of Lego games. I worked on Sonic Boom for the Wii U. Nice. And I worked there for about like a year full-time, and then the rest freelance, because unfortunately after that year full-time, they had to do some downsizing. But during that full-time year is when I got Firewatch.
Oh,
I got
nice.
to do the E3 trailer for Firewatch and all the trailers after that. And that was really what put me on the map as far as just going to PAX or GDC and just being able to say, hey, I worked on the trailer for Firewatch, and have people actually know what I was talking about, because it was really popular, did very well. So that was a really good calling card to have. But after that job at Hammer Creative, I put a call out on Twitter and said, hey, looking for indie game trailer work. And I'd connected with Kurt Gartner, who is like OG indie game trailer guy. Kurt spelled with an E because it's Trek backwards, because his dad's a Star Trek fan.
What?
Yes.
That is deep lore. I love that. That's
deep
so great.
Game trailer editor lore. But he had too much work to take on, so he gave me overflow work, and that is really, really what saved my butt, got me started, got me all my early projects virtually, because like posting on Reddit and forums and handing out cards at conventions got me like very, very few jobs at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And then over the course of 3 to 4 years, I had to do fewer in-person jobs in Los Angeles agencies and more work from home things. So I've been doing work from home indie game trailer making by myself, except for like contractors here and there for like graphics and stuff. I've been doing this by myself for about 8 years or so.
Awesome.
Yeah, if you can pull up my slide here. If people want to see my links, you can just go to this website. This has like my portfolio and all those relevant links. Just dereklieu.card with 2 R's.co. And
I've also put the link to your website in the chat. So it makes that super easy for you all. On your website, you have obviously your portfolio and all the trailers that you worked on. I spent 5 to 10 minutes literally scrolling through all of the different trailers you worked on and being like, I love all of these games. Like, if you are a big fan of indie games in general, I can assure you that Derek created some of your favorite trailers for those games. But you also have a lot of learning resources and things there. Can you tell us a little bit more? And I guess we can leave that QR code up for a little bit longer as well.
Yeah, and I can show you. I have a slide of some work I've done. This is just 9 games, but this is spanning a whole bunch of years, games that I've worked on trailers for. But yeah, so during the time that I said that 7-8 year span of time when I was transitioning to independent, I started writing a weekly newsletter about making game trailers, just because really no one else was doing it. I mean, Kurt had some articles here and there, but there's just so much to talk about and no one talking about it, especially in movies, because the movie trailer industry is very secretive. So you're not going to have them doing interviews and talking about behind the scenes. Like there's a few online, you can find them. But I had all this internet insider knowledge that I just wanted to share because it's so interesting. And like a lot of people don't even realize that movie trailers are edited by entirely different companies than the people making the actual film, because of course the people making the film are making the film. So I just started writing this weekly newsletter, and I did it weekly for about 7 years. I think I missed maybe 2 weeks in that time, which lately I've not been posting regularly at all. But also during that time, I started making YouTube videos and streaming on Twitch. I used to do some critiquing on Twitch, where every Friday people would send their trailers in and we'd watch them and I'd critique them, and I'd maybe talk about some of the latest trailers and what I thought they were interesting about them. And we'd live stream during things like, Summer Game Fest type sort of things. But yeah, been been doing this for a while, and just try to get me to stop talking about trailers.
No, I mean, I'm glad that you're ready. I'm glad that you're ready to dive into it here. I'll bring in a question. We're going to modify it because VG Junkie on Twitch says, are you currently working on any trailers for games that haven't been announced yet? If so, which ones? Let's not do that dance. But are you working on anything right now that you're able to kind of talk about?
Nothing I can talk about right now, which that's normal, I think.
Yeah, I feel like
by the nature of the business, we're always working on things that aren't announced, even if it's a game is for a trailer that is for something that is already out. Like even if it's for like a DLC or something like that, you know, I'm not going to crater the PR plan for that update or whatever.
Yeah, which I think kind of leads us nicely into our first topic, if we're ready. Or Derek, is there anything else that you wanted to discuss or mention about the website or anything, those types of resources?
No, I mean, just if you just want to know anything about game trailers, pretty much just Google my name and then add your question. Like, how long should my trailer be? What should the first shot be? What about those 6-second teasers before the trailer? Like anything. Like, what should the sound design? Like, just try it first, and you'd be surprised. I'm surprised sometimes. I'm like, all right, I forgot I wrote that post.
Yeah.
Just the other day, someone was asking me about music stop downs, where during the trailer, like the music stops and then a joke happens or something like that, and then they transition to another music cue. And I ended up sending this guy like 6 links from my videos and my articles. I'm like, oh, I forgot about this one. Oh, this one. You know, so I've talked about trailers a lot, and I've written a lot of articles.
Good. Then you are exactly the right person to share all this information. It was great as we were getting ready to start the show, and even in the days leading up to it, to see people pop in and be like, this is exactly the information I need right now. And like I said at the top of the show, this is a bridge that every indie dev will need to cross at some point. If you want people to know about your game, if you're setting up a Steam page, you should probably have a trailer to go alongside it. So leading into the first topic here, we kind of have this concept of different types of trailers. And I feel like you'll see this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Derek, but I feel like you'll see this a lot more on the bigger budget AAA projects where you have the marketing budget to have this massive runway leading into release of a game. But typically you'll see like the announcement trailer, maybe a teaser, then you'll get a little bit of a gameplay trailer, you'll get the release date eventually announced. What is your impression of this kind of concept of multiple trailers? Is there a necessity for all of them? Are you gaining a lot as an indie dev by going out of your way to create multiple, or could you kind of summarize it all into one?
As you'll probably guess, my answer is going to be, it depends.
Always.
It always depends. It depends on the game. It depends on so many different things. But let me bring up this diagram here this is the marketing funnel. So this is a marketing concept where you have the marketing assets that target the biggest possible audience, and then a certain percentage of those people will start following you or subscribe or something like that. And then you have a smaller audience that then they have new questions, say like after the announced trailer, that maybe needs to be covered by like a gameplay trailer. And then once they've seen a gameplay or story trailer, then if they still want more, then maybe you go to something like behind the scenes, or then like further down, like you get to the sort of like Deus Ex 101 trailers, where it's like you can play as a hacker, you can play as a stealth player, you can play all action. And then at the bottom is sort of like the last part is the like after the person's already bought the game and they're a fan, and you need to target that audience with update trailers, DLC, and accolades. But for most indies, I mean, at the very least, of course, you need an announced trailer. But I'd say depending on the game, you probably need, I mean, certainly one trailer. 2 could be all you need for your game. Maybe some need 3, but once you get more than that, I think a lot of games you don't really have, especially in indie, like the scope to support that, and you can end up stretching yourself thin, because really, I think you should want the trailers to form this natural progression from announcement to launch to then playing the game. And when you have an announced trailer that says one thing about the game, and then you have a gameplay trailer that maybe just has a whole bunch of overlap, then I think people will start thinking like, oh, is there really that much to this game? They're already repeating stuff. So I think like never make a trailer when you're after your announcement, if you're just thinking to yourself like, we just need like a marketing beat just to remind people that we're alive. Like,
Right.
it's not really the best way to do things. Like, if you have something to line up, like say you get an opportunity to be in like the Wholesome Games Fest, which has tons and tons of eyeballs on it, then yes, that makes sense to then try to maybe like shift over a marketing beat you already had planned and then, you know, make it earlier or later based off of this opportunity that you have. Like maybe you want to announce, I don't know, a new console platform or the release date or something like that. Then that makes sense to decide to make a trailer if you didn't already have a plan like around that time. I mean, Summer Game Fest time, you should also just be thinking about that time at the beginning of the year anyway, because those shows, they start contacting people or like a few months in advance. And if you want to like make a trailer, you don't want to like find out, oh, we got into Wholesome. When do we need a trailer? 2 weeks from now. It's like that. I hear that story all the time. So it's very good to just think about it at least at the beginning of the year. If you're even considering trying to make for one of those shows. But the other thing with trailers is like, don't only think about the trailer being in front of the customer's eyeballs. The trailer is for like influencers and press and you know, streamers, YouTubers. This is your calling card that you have, which is a means to connect to other people who can then show your game to their audiences. And that's probably way more important than just like reaching the person who's going to hit buy on Steam, because they amplify the message to all their audiences. So don't just think like, oh, you know, my wish list didn't immediately go up as soon as I uploaded the trailer or something like that. Like, this is a thing that will live on your store page and hopefully, you know, continue to bear fruit as it goes along. So like, when you're thinking about audiences, like think of all the audiences, not just people who buy. Think about the people that you need to send an email to and like respect their time, because they get, you know, 30 emails a day or 100 emails a day. And if you have a nice trailer and someone else doesn't, then you have a much better chance. So it's all about like just trying to get in there.
Yeah, I like and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but like identifying your audience and how you want to speak specifically to different audiences and how you can accomplish that. But always considering the audience has been one of the biggest things in any content that I've learned to create. Like, as we create live stream content here, the first thing I do is try to understand the Unity community and say, what is the information that they are looking for? And then working backwards on how to present it to them. So I like to hear that's really intimately relatable for myself and hopefully for a lot of other people out there. But I wanted to take a step back to something that you mentioned earlier in terms of like, you have 2 weeks to make that trailer. That's not a long enough time. What would the estimated timeline be for someone making their own trailer? Do you have like a first timer's guide, like where you would expect them to earmark that amount of time?
It's tough to say, because if they've never made a trailer at all, then maybe they're having to learn video editing software at the exact same time. And who knows how long that's going to take. I know for like me and for my colleagues, we usually ask for like 4 to 6 weeks.
Okay.
As like a pretty decent schedule. And I also keep in mind, though, often we're overlapping projects. So, you know, all the trailers that I work on, if I was working on only that trailer, it probably wouldn't actually take 4 to 6 weeks if I didn't overlap. But it's still good to have that buffer, just because maybe the developers need to polish up parts of the game to include in the trailer, and that takes a certain amount of time. Maybe the composer needs to customize the music or write a whole new cue. That takes time. And also sometimes you just need ideas to percolate a little bit, you know, send a version, sit on it a little bit and work things out. So it's, you know, even if the timeline could be compressed, it's just good to have time. It's always better to have more time.
Yeah. I kind of like that. I mean, I'm inferring from what you mentioned, but in terms of like apply to these showcases once you already have a trailer, right? As opposed to being like, I'll just throw my hat in the ring.
Think about the trailer before you even gonna apply. You know,
make sure you've got
think about it at the very least.
Sure. Cool. I like that a lot. I think there, so many types of different trailers, different timelines, and we see people discussing it already in the chat. And again, Unity community watching live here, if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat. I'll try and find an opportunity to interweave them throughout this conversation, but we do have a dedicated Q&A session at the end as well. So if you don't get your question answered right away, there's likelihood that I'm pulling it for later. But on the topic of kind of these variety of different approaches to streams, Derek, are there gold standards in your opinion for trailers that are just chef's kiss, hit the nail on the head, got it exactly right, and why?
Yes, and I have a couple. I mean, there's loads. That's one problem too, is that a lot of people don't know which trailers to look to for reference, because honestly, like most game trailers aren't made by professionals. Not to say that developers can't make good trailers, but if you're just learning the video editing software and you've never done this before, then it's kind of less likely it'll come out super good. But that said, my first example I have here was made by the developer, which is the trailer for Papers, Please, which, let me just cue up one thing to think about while watching this. Actually, can you pause it? Here's a lesson I'm always telling people, is your first version of your trailer, when you're thinking about it, just capture your game, keep everything in order, and just like don't try to Pulp Fiction it when you're making your trailer. Like if you've built a story structure, dramatic structure, or pacing structure for like the gameplay mechanics, then that's what you need to be in that order. So don't mess with it. So this Papers, Please trailer, as far as I can tell, this is just linear, and it is trailer paced. And this is made by Lucas Pope, who also, he says that during development or at the beginning of development, he thinks about what the trailer for a game might be. And if he can't think of that, he won't pursue that game idea. He said that in an interview.
Right.
But check this out.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Sorry, right before we dive in, when we had Chris Zukowski on, he said the most important marketing decision you make is what type of game you are making. So I like that one step further of like, okay, can I visualize a trailer for this? No, maybe that's not the game I'm making anymore. I like that a lot.
Yeah, so check out this trailer for Papers, Please. Super good.
That trailer puts a smile on my face. I think it communicates tone so well, and like the escalation communicates like just the flow and like the excitable nature of the game itself. But Derek, you brought it as a gold standard. Why does it stand out for you?
Yeah, if you could play this with sound off while I'm talking over this.
Perfect.
Yeah, so everything, the music, already great. The music, it accelerates, it builds, which is what you want with a trailer music cue, even if it's not like, Call of Duty or something like that. This is about stamping papers at a border. First thing you can think about here is how much time is spent just like walking through the game mechanic. And I think a lot of trailers are in a rush to just show a whole bunch of stuff in the trailer. Like, oh, I got this. And a lot of times it just muddies up the message. I'm like, wait, what kind of game is this? Because people, when they start watching a trailer, they're trying to figure out what kind of game it is. And even if it's like a very not conventional, like typical or popular genre, then they still need to see enough to know that that's where they're at, because games mix up genres. They blend things, and you just need to have that baseline to know what we're seeing. Now, in this case, it's a completely novel mechanic. So they have to show like really point by point, okay, papers, please. You get the thing and you stamp it. And then as this goes along, we're gonna get more and more papers, but they needed to take the time so then that you just build that bedrock of knowledge of what this game is before they start throwing all these different twists at you. The other thing this trailer does really great is just how it uses close-ups, which actually every shot in this is a close-up if you've played Papers, Please, because in Papers, Please, you have the outside view, you have the person's face, you have the desk, and you have everything here. And he zoomed in on the different parts of the game screen, so then that you're only looking at one thing at a time, and that cuts down on the visual clutter and helps the storytelling, so then that you aren't just overloaded with things that are happening. And it just, it builds, it just adds layers, but it's the first parts of the trailer are much slower because it's the tutorial section. And then by the end, okay, got it. Be stamping papers. And by the end, they're like, okay, check out all these people and, all these different things that are happening. So it's really good, like standard for that.
Yeah. Again, like tonally, it gives you exact estimations. I know I've seen a couple of people in chat already saying like, I don't want to feel misled by your trailer. I don't want to feel like I'm headed one direction and then all of a sudden it's another. Derek, you and I have had conversations about it that we'll probably touch on a little bit later, but I think this one communicated tone incredibly well. Yeah. I know we have a second gold standard. Do we want to hop into that one now and kind of show that off as well?
This one, this is a trailer for Spiritfarer. Amazing game. This is edited by, her name is Maud. I forget her last name. She's actually a documentary film editor that works with Thunder Lotus. So you'll see the beginning of this trailer feels very filmic. It doesn't feel like a trailer, but this one's like a good, like full meal emotional arc trailer that like, oh my God, this is like a very experienced editor who just knows how to play the emotions while also showing off gameplay. And like, just grab some tissues and watch this trailer.
Leave for teen.
good.
That is a trailer. Like, I know what this game is. I have a lot of friends that this is one of their favorite games, but I've not played it myself. But getting through this trailer and the emotional reaction from a trailer, not playing the game, not like, this was what, a minute and a half, and already I'm like,
it's like
oh
a couple, I think it's like 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Which is very beefy for an indie game, which people are always asking, how long should an indie game trailer be? I tell them no more than 90 seconds, just because that's what's expected. So, you know, don't make things artificially longer if your game can't support it. If you start repeating yourself within the trailer, then that will tell people like, oh, couldn't have enough game footage to fill 90 seconds. It must be a small game. So just make it shorter. Like, no one ever complained about it. Well, I've probably complained about a short trailer that was too short, but usually people don't complain about a trailer being too short. But like, this is just, it's so good. And something to think about during this is, well, title cards are a good thing to think about, which title cards you should use on a as needed basis. Like, don't assume just because it's a trailer you put title cards in. The danger of title cards is they are basically you, the marketer, you, the trailer editor, inserting yourself into the trailer and jumping in the way and saying, hey, by the way, you know, you do XYZ. So if the thing that the title cards are saying isn't really that interesting, or maybe it's calling out something that's kind of rote, then that will signal like, oh, you went out of your way to tell me that this Stardew Valley-like game has farming in it. It's like, But like this one, like the best title card here is this one, learn how to say goodbye, because how many games can you think about that can use that title card? Probably like none. So that's the other thing, is that you want your title cards to exist like for your game and your game alone, if possible. Now, the other thing to take from this trailer is just think about your game loop, okay? Because we need to know what your game loop is to get a sense of the experience of what the game is. And if you're in like Pulp Fiction montage, you know, trailer mode, which the other thing I tell people is like, don't edit the trailer in terms of what you think a trailer looks like, which is like, oh, just a whole bunch of stuff set to exciting music, right? It's like, no. It needs some structure to it so then that we can actually parse everything that's happening. Like, if you look at this trailer, it very much has its sections where it's like, okay, first we're sleeping, then the sun rises, then we start our day, we say hi to all the people, and then we do our mini games and we farm, and then we go to a new place and we meet more new people, and it has its structure to it, which, you know, on paper it might sound kind of boring maybe, but it's, you know, that's when you have really good music and good editing. But people need that in order to just understand what they're seeing, because if you just throw a bunch of images and expect people to do the mental work to put the jigsaw puzzle together, then they're just not going to. You know, like, if you laid out piece by piece, then they'll be able to watch faster cuts and, you know, get understand the montage mode that you go into at the end. But if you don't do that due diligence of building that groundwork, then they're going to be lost. And you don't want people to be confused when you're watching the trailer. You want them to be curious, but not confused.
Yeah, don't make them do more work than they need to, right? I also like what you said about, like, no one's complained about trailers being too short. Well, maybe, but I feel like that's usually an indication of people wanting more. And we have this concept when we create these live streams that, again, I'm loving seeing some of these parallels of this content to time. If the content that you have is 90 seconds, don't make it 2.5 minutes, because now you're spinning your wheels and, like you said, kind of repeating yourself and going in circles, and you're not really adding value with that time, which I like to kind of communicate that to people as well. But I also want to shout out Chris Zukowski, who's hanging out in chat. Great to see you, Chris. If anyone's unaware or didn't see the stream that we did with Chris earlier this year, go and check out howtomarketagame.com. But Chris has been great at answering questions and also being like, okay, but now be quiet and pay attention to Derek, because Derek's great at this. So we are in full swing here. And I know we've got a lot of trailers coming up here. So let's kind of talk about some consulting that you've done, which I know, you know, we mentioned you creating your own trailers, you providing learning resources and opportunities for other people, but you also do some consulting. So we've brought a few examples of, like, kind of a before and after from you in terms of, is this how it worked? They brought you their trailer and said, what do you think? Do we need to make any adjustments? And then you kind of created recommendations based around that?
Yeah.
Okay.
So the first one we have here is for Dosa Divas, made by Outer Loop. Is it Outer Loop Games or Outer Loop Studios? I'm forgetting now. Anyway, Outer Loop. The logo will be there.
You punched her? She's our sister.
Okay, so that was the draft that Eka sent me. Oh, yeah, a little bit more.
Hey, mamas, what's cooking?
Okay, so that's the draft that Eka sent me to consult on. And you'll see this, and you'll see later on the after version, it's not that different. There's some really small changes that we made, or I had him make. So the problem with this trailer was that, like, you saw a bunch of the parts of the game loop, like, oh, you have a mech, you cook food, and there's something there about like battling your sister. But the trailer had this thing that I see is very common, especially when I'm consulting, is a bunch of game mechanics in search of a reason to exist. So I watched the trailer and I have the vaguest understanding of what has happened. Like, it starts off here, like, hand over that mech, and they punch this monitor, and it's a spicy RPG, so it's like they're talking about the genre, and here this dialogue, like, it's okay. And there's this one where they say, like, she's our sister, which I told him, like, it reminded me of this. I was listening to a podcast with Vince Gilligan, who did Breaking Bad. Right. And he says he hates when he watches something and a character says, hey, Bob, how long we been brothers? It's like, you would know. Yeah. Your brothers.
Oh, man.
But so, and Echo was like, yeah, that's totally valid. But so, like I said, it's game mechanics and pieces, but we don't have this overarching goal in this trailer. And so I asked him, like, so what's the story? What's the game loop? What do you achieve when you do these battles? Why do you go to these different villages? What's the purpose? And so he told me basically that the premise is that there's this family where they have this, like, food culture, and one of the sisters goes off and creates, like, a fast food empire that is, it's not as good as, like, the handmade, like, food cart stuff. And
this is the soul. Yeah,
and this is the food that, like, everyone in the world is eating now, and it's not really like enriching, and people are kind of like blasé and they don't feel good. And so these other two sisters want to bring down her fast food empire and then remind people of the world what good food is, and, like, kind of like restore things, maybe like Okami style or something like that. Don't quote me on that. But, like, I'm like, okay, cool. So they're going to this village which has, like, this particular cuisine, and this village has this particular cuisine. I'm like, that's interesting. And then we have this overall goal of eventually confronting the sister. And so then, like, okay, so now remake the trailer, or just rejigger some things that make that clear, that that's what the goal is, and that's why we're going to do these things in these places. So that gives a purpose to these game mechanics, rather than just saying, like, hey, in this game you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. It's like, okay, well, what's the point? It might as well be like a little fidget cube where you're just pressing buttons. But if you find out that it's serving a purpose and you're trying to work towards something, then it makes it more interesting. Because then you're like, ooh, if I restore a village and they give me, like, the workers are now feeling good from this good food. They're strong enough to, like, build a bridge to this new area or something like that. And that, like, creates the progression. So now we can watch the after version and just keep that in mind, that just this story framing.
Perfect.
one cooks anymore. Food in tubes? Yuck.
I'm so hungry.
So good.
Hey, mamas, what's cooking?
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. And we've already seen people being like, night and day, this is so much better. Like, you can tell the difference almost immediately.
Yeah, and it is basically all the same footage. They changed, they made the intro longer. Like, there's a reason they're punching. We know why, and then it's like fight the power. And we have these title cards. I added some new ones. So like, take down her fast food empire. Again, how many games can you say that about? I think only Dos Divas, as far as I know.
Yeah.
So, and then one idea feeds onto the next thing, and then it builds this overall idea of the game. Because the other thing to think about with trailers and editing is that if you take one shot and then add another shot, what should happen is an idea is then created from the juxtaposition of those two shots. If you want me to get all film theory on you. So, and if you have two shots where you're not really intending them to be building on top of each other, then no idea is sparked in there. But if you're constantly doing that, then like a third shot is created in a way while you're watching. Hopefully that's happening all the time to some degree.
I like this. I like this a lot. It's a fantastic example as well. I know we have a couple more case studies. Do we want to take a look at
one more? Let's do Harvest Island.
Good. And do we want to skip the third one and
Yeah,
for the sake of time?
Yeah, I think so.
Perfect. So we'll take a look at Harvest Island now. This is another example of someone who came to you with a preliminary concept and you provided some feedback. So we'll take a look at the before first, and then we'll let you let us know what's kind of changed.
Okay. So yeah, I mean, this feels like two trailers, and which just kind of throws things off already. But this is a good example of a thing I'm always telling people is like, look, the very beginning of your trailer, like ideally the first shot should establish the genre space that you're in. And then like most of the trailer should be talking about what's the hook, what's different about your game. Doesn't have to be a hooky thing, but like what is different about your game.
Sure.
And then like maybe at the end you say like, oh, and there's 16 boss battles and 5 weapons or something like that, which by the way, most people front load with like, oh, 16 boss battles, 5 weapons, 4 game modes, which don't do that. That's like talking about how many flavors of ice cream you have in your ice cream shop before I even know what makes your ice cream shop interesting. And by the way, your ice cream shop is half an hour drive away. So I'm not going to go to this ice cream shop if you're pitching it by saying you have chocolate, vanilla, and ice cream and strawberry.
Right.
So that's a common pitfall, is just saying game modes, blah, 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 blah. And then also I call it the like indie game environment montage, where like very beginning, like maybe 5 seconds in, characters running across the screen, or they're staying in place, but the backgrounds are swapping out.
Yeah.
I mean, I've done that too, but also usually it's maybe more like halfway through the trailer, not the beginning, because that's essentially saying, hey, we have biomes, which is also saying we have chocolate, vanilla and strawberry.
Right.
And meanwhile, you're sitting on your hook of the ice cream shop is a cat cafe. It's like, tell me that from the beginning. So the whole thing with this Harvest Island game is that it's subverting the Stardew Valley formula, and their idea with a structure where it's kind of like half looks like Stardew Valley, then half the subversion, which just takes way too long. So I basically said, like, look, just have the creepy music from the very beginning, and you could still use a lot of that footage from the opening, and they can see, it's like, okay, this is clearly Stardew Valley inspired, but something's weird because the music will set the tone. So, first shot, you can tell Stardew Valley inspired game because of the pixel art and everything. So that's, genre, no problem. And then we need to then immediately, because of the music, we're already into the hook, which you'll see in the new version. And then it just gets to the point a lot quicker, which is the thing is, like, don't bury your hook. A lot of people are like super afraid of showing the hook or the twist because it's the unproven thing. It's like, oh, we made this game. It's a take on a roguelike, whatever. And we added this twist to it, but like, don't know if people like it. I'll make sure I talk about all the things that people love from roguelikes, like 8 biomes and multiple weapons. And meanwhile, you're just talking about your game in the way that is like every other game that you're inspired by. So again, with the title cards, if what you're saying can describe lots of different games, not doing a good job of describing your game. But if you say it's a Stardew Valley inspired game and you start talking about like all the subversive stuff, then we're getting somewhere. So let's watch the new version, the final version for this.
Completely different like feel, right? Like, I think it's something as an audience you might not be clocking and understanding exactly, but it's the emotional response that for me was just completely different.
Yeah, I said like think of Twin Peaks or David Lynch films, where like a lot of stuff that's happening on screen is normal, but like you can tell there's something weird going on.
Right.
I mean, here it's very in your face. It's a trailer. Like, no one ever accused trailers of being subtle. But when people try to be subtle, then you don't realize what's going on. is my lesson. So the title cards are like very on the nose, and that's fine. Part of the reason that the developer did the other version, they're thinking like, oh, I want people to be surprised when they play the game because it's a twist. But it's like, also, if people aren't expecting that twist, they're gonna be really, really upset. So that's the other thing is, as far as mentality for trailers, is that you don't want to give people something that they didn't expect, which is what someone was saying, which usually people are talking about in the context of like graphics or something like that. But if people went in expecting Stardew Valley, it turns out it's this game where Harvest Island has a darker meaning to it, then they'd be really upset, and then they'll hate you. So like the trailer both needs to attract the audience that you're targeting and push away the one that you're not targeting. And if you're doing that, I think you're doing a good job. I think there's probably a different school of marketing. We're like, no, get everyone. Think about like movie trailers where it's a musical, but they don't show you that it's a musical. They don't show any songs.
Looking at you, Willy Wonka.
Willy
and the
Wonka,
Chocolate Factory.
Greatest Showman. I could go on all day. I have this whole thing about
Yeah.
musicals and trailers because like Hollywood's like really afraid to admit that they made a musical. At least the marketing department is.
Yeah.
And there's that video of like the Mean Girls musical where people like groaning because they started singing. I mean, apparently that was like several songs in, but like, and like there's that woman who like sued because the trailer for Drive made it look like Fast and the Furious instead of this like
there was
arty
also
film.
one with like Anna de Armas was in the trailer, but not in the movie, and they tried to sue for that one as well.
Yeah. But
interesting.
like at a more basic level though, just like give people what they want and what they expect, and like just yes, the film was yesterday.
Right.
Thank you, Jack. But tell people what you're selling. It seems obvious.
Yeah.
Like don't lie. Just
Don't
be
bear
honest.
the hook, right?
Show what the game is. Show what the experience is. And if it doesn't have an audience, then I'm sorry. The biggest marketing choice you make, which Chris will say, everyone will say, a lot of people say, is like the game itself.
Yeah.
And if it just didn't have something special in there that on paper or on visuals, people like, oh wow, it's like that's in the territory of what I like, but you're changing it just enough for me to want to play it.
Right.
But yeah, just be upfront and be both secure in your idea, but don't be so secure that you feel like you can just do whatever you want in your trailer. Like, no, you have to actually like show what the thing is. You can't just montage your way out. You're not Naughty Dog. You can't just get away with showing like anything. Like, Naughty Dog, if they wanted to, they probably could just release like a whole bunch of B-roll instead of a trailer, and people are like, oh my god, new Naughty Dog game. But like that's because they're Naughty Dog and they have decades
got the reputation to carry, right?
Reputation. And
it's something I wrote down in our kind of pre-production it was a quote that you said. I was like, that's genius, and I wrote it down. It's everyone needs to be insecure when making a trailer, right? Like going in completely headstrong, like oh, everyone's gonna love this, it doesn't matter what I do, is really not setting yourself up for success.
Yeah. So I always tell people, imagine yourself that you're a new stand-up comic at an open mic at like a bar. You had to like pay to even be there, to get 3 minutes in front of a bunch of stand-up comedians who, like, best case scenario, you make a joke and they go like that, then it's like, ooh, that's a banger. But like that's like I know this from experience. Like I did like a little bit of stand-up comedy, but like people who come up and make their trailer and say like, oh, game modes and blah 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 blah. That's like a stand-up comic who gets up on stage and says, hey, my name is Derek Lieu. I'm from Boston. My parents are from Taiwan. I just came in here from XYZ, and it's just like no preamble. Tell me a freaking joke. And for game trailers, it's show me gameplay.
Yeah. Okay? Yeah. I like these. I like the consulting. I think it's so valuable to have the A/B comparison, and I think people are learning a lot. I'm loving it so far. I know that we have a lot of other trailers that we want to show off, so let's make this one as quick as possible here. Common pitfalls. The Bull asks, what are big trailer taboos? Okay. We know we've kind of danced around it. Do you have like a quick 1, 2, 3? Stop doing these things.
I'll run through these quickly as possible. These are just title cards, but you can put up my slides here.
Oh, great.
First one, vague intro and unclear genre. Again, if you have a shot of the trailer where it's like camera going through the environment and no character in sight, no hands in the bottom corner or something like that, you have no idea what kind of game this is. Don't do that. Don't do your logos. Just get to your gameplay. No one cares about your logos unless you're Naughty Dog or Supergiant Games.
Right.
So that's a big problem. Just get to the gameplay. Get to the gameplay that is player controlled and helps people understand the genre. You have like a little bit of wiggle room if you have an interesting story premise, like Firewatch. Not a lot of games about middle-aged men who are sad in the woods. But for gameplay, you need to get there as soon as possible. So because the combination, actually, let me show you this. So I had this whole thing that story trailers should show gameplay, because if you have this cutscene of Nathan Drake and Tenzin, and then it's juxtaposed with third-person cover shooter, it's like, okay, got it. But if it was a match 3 game or something like that, then that tells a whole totally different story. So if you plant that genre and then you get into your story, then that creates that third idea in your head, like, ooh, how would that work? How would I advance the story using a match 3 game? So yeah, be clear about genre. Okay, next one doesn't show the hook. I basically already talked about that for Harvest Island, but people always bury their hook and they just get into montage mode too quick. Flat music, this one's really common. They'll use a music track from the game, and it's just a music track that's just designed to loop over and over and over again. It doesn't have any change in energy, no dramatic arc.
Was that something that changed between Harvest Island trailers as well? Am I remembering that right?
I mean, that track is actually pretty flat, all things considered, but it's like a creepy thing. So in that case, it kind of worked. Yeah. So it's like tense. I think it does rise. But this is a common thing where I'll just play the trailer and I'll just skip to different parts of the trailer and listen to it and think to myself, does this sound like the beginning of the trailer, the middle of the trailer, the end of the trailer? If it all sounds exactly the same, then your music's not good. Like, it should feel like different. Like, go to that Spiritfarer trailer and then tell me if it feels like the middle, beginning, or end, or whatever of the trailer, and you'll see it right away. I said this before, features and content first, saying all the game modes and stuff. People front load that. Don't do that. Put it at the very end, because again, can't care about the flavors of ice cream you have until I've had a taste. So don't. And again, your ice cream shop's half an hour away. No one's going to drive half an hour away if you sell me on 3 basic flavors. Next one, this is a huge one, is a lore dump. So just imagine like any Dark Souls From Software trailer. They can do it because they're From Software, and people already know what their games play like, and they know that when they show this like giant thing in their cutscene, like, oh, I'm gonna fight that in this game. Oh yeah, But like, if it's someone that has no reputation, like From Software, you have no idea what your game is, and you're talking about like, in the lands of whatever 500 years ago, and then the hero rose and blah blah. It's like, no one cares.
Yes,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Make them care first. Yeah.
But like, the other thing is that when you dump lore, you're talking about things that happened in the past, but your game takes place in the present, which means how are you going to film this? How are you going to capture this thing that probably doesn't exist in your game except in like books or something like that? Then you have to do like motion graphics or cutscenes, like things that are not gameplay basically, or you have to like cobble together gameplay to sort of tentatively make a story. Next one here, visual overload. Again, too many shots, not enough time to understand what's happening in them, or maybe there's like too cluttered, like too much HUD. Like, use HUD sparingly. Like, the HUD should be there only when the HUD is there to communicate an idea. So if you watch the trailer I made for Skin Deep, opening shot, not all the HUD, most of the HUD, because that's the first trailer on the Steam page, and I want people to not skip ahead when they load the Steam page. But also that HUD says like, okay, that kind of first-person shooter that has this level of granularity for like the events happening and my inventory and stuff, that signals a certain genre space. But if it's just like, it's a fighting game, like Street Fighter trailers don't need to show their power bars necessarily, unless maybe they were going to have like a super move or something like that, show how powerful it is. But a lot of trailers just cut too fast. And just like bad like eye trace. So like, I'm looking at this part of the frame in this shot, then it cuts. I'm supposed to be looking over here. I'm supposed to look here. Like, it's the Taken 3 fight scenes. It's like, where am I looking? Which I'll have a good example for a good version of that in a bit. Awesome. Next one, no game audio, which that's like my one little critique of the Papers, Please trailer. There is some game audio in it, but mostly it's musically driven, which actually for that, the music is so good, it really works. But
that's great. We actually had someone ask a question about that. It was like, how much should I rely on like specific custom tailored audio versus using my in-game audio, which is
great. I think you should include your game audio. It does make things harder because it's like adding another music track to your trailer basically, and to integrate that really well is difficult. But you're just removing this whole facet of your game feel if you don't include your game sound effects in there. And also you're making your sound designer cry. And game feel like is another thing that you're trying to communicate through your trailer, hopefully. And if you don't have the game audio, then you got to recapture or do it manually. People have said that they didn't have game audio because they left the music on while they're capturing, to which I say you capture the footage again, or you put it in manually because it's really important. And then you get a sound mixer to mix it at the end because it's hard to like balance all that sort of thing. And this one's like super basic, is like no call to action. Like you finish watching the trailer and like says the title and that's it.
Now
it's like
find it on Steam.
It's on Steam. Is it available now? The flip side of that one is like too many calls to action. It's like join my Discord, do my newsletter. It's like no. They're gonna do none of that if you put all of those things there. You put QR codes. No one's gonna scan your QR code. I'm sorry.
One and easy.
People don't read descriptions on YouTube videos. Just wish list on Steam. Like that's it. Wish list on Steam.
Yeah.
Really quickly, let's do the Tiny Glade trailer.
Sure.
So this one, this is here to say basically like, again, forget about what a trailer looks like. Think about what a trailer has to do, which is show what the gameplay is and give an idea of the experience, communicate the vibe. And like, that's it,
So this
watch
is
this
great.
trailer.
We can definitely kind of slide in here to like the basic building blocks of what you're going to be looking for. Tiny Glade, I think we had listed here as like a very solid hook to get people in early. Okay, great.
And then also, okay, watch the pause. Watch the cursor and watch its position between shots as you're going.
I think I know where we're going here. I like this too. All right. It's so good. That's great. Is that
developers
is that
made
cutting
that one.
on shape? Is that what that's called?
That's called eye trace. It's a mix of eye trace and like match on action.
Sure.
Eye trace is just understanding where the people are looking in one shot and then making sure it continues on to the next shot. Match on action, it could be a number of different things. It could be like, person swinging their arm leading up to an explosion. That's like a classic trailer sort of thing. But like, super good. Gets the idea across. I mean, the game communicates like in one shot anyway, but like this doesn't like feel like, 3-act structure trailer, dramatic, whatever, but like it is not accelerating. It is building, no pun intended, on top of its ideas, because it starts off simple and it goes on to the more complex things. And is like kind of answering your questions as you go along. It's like, ooh, I wonder if you could change the color. Ooh, you can change the color. I wonder if you can pet the sheep. Oh, you can pet the sheep. And it just really does a good job of answering questions as it goes along.
Yeah, this is an incredible one. I think I don't think there was any text throughout it. Like there wasn't the call out to do this, but it was immediately clear what this game was and what you were doing. It was also kind of choreographed. Like at the end, there was 2 window placements that matched beats to the music, which was, I don't know. You have to imagine that was done on purpose, but that was
sometimes they're happy accidents, but probably on purpose.
Yeah, fair, right? We're kind of in this space of like, we're talking the basic building blocks, what you should do. Like these are shining examples of certain specific concepts. So Derek, is there another one that you want to dive into? I know we've kind of got a long list of trailers here. We can dance around. We can go in order. I know we have a number of trailers to support the same idea. If we want to grab one from each, we can do that as well. How do we want to play this out?
Let's do Baba Is You.
Okay.
because this is another like trailer or game where it's like, oh my god, this is probably a hard game to turn into a trailer.
Awesome. I know this is a little further down, so we'll give Jack a little bit of a moment here to prep it in. But what about this one?
This one, just like it has a unique game mechanic that people need to understand after they finish watching this trailer for them to be interested at all. And like it's not like explosions and visually arresting like Tiny Glade is. It's pixel graphics, and it's a puzzle game. Puzzle games are really hard to turn to trailers sometimes.
Yeah,
all the time actually. But this does a really good job of just breaking it down and building on top of this foundation, and you'll see.
Awesome.
And that's it.
That's really clean. That's another one that for me, like, I never played it. I've heard the title, but I didn't know enough about it. 2 seconds in, I was like, I get it. I understand it. Also, hello, cat.
Hey, cat. And most of the trailer is just teaching you the rules, like very slowly, very deliberately and gradually. It's not fast cut, and there's like one shot I think that I would call like a scope shot, where they're saying like, this is how complicated this could get, which is like there's one page where there's like 4 like rows of different things. And it's like, oh, this could get involved. Now that we have this basic idea, we're just gonna tease a little bit, like, okay, this is gonna go a little wild at some point. So that's the longevity. So that's why I say like put the flavors or the longevity things, or I call them multipliers. So things like game modes, boss battles, weapons, those are multipliers. Those are not the main experience, okay? So if we like everything in the beginning here, like the genre, the twist on this genre, and how things accelerate, if you show me a bunch of stuff that if I chose one of those, like a different weapon, like a spear versus a mace, then it's like, oh, I could do this all over again. That's longevity. That I could play this multiple times because of all these things. For the ice cream shop analogy, it's that like, oh, I love this ice cream. It's so good. How many flavors do you have? Then if you can say, oh, I have all these, by the way, XYZ, then it's like, okay, cool, I'm coming back, even though you're half an hour drive away. So that's a really good example of just building the foundation of treating your trailer like a video tutorial to some degree.
Yeah, exactly. Some people made that explicit. This was basically a tutorial, less of a trailer, more of a tutorial, but it serves the same purpose, especially as you kind of said, for like a relatively abstract game, and puzzles are really challenging to communicate in a trailer.
Let me talk about one other thing. Not one other thing, but let's talk about people always asking about intros, like first part of the trailer. Like, let's talk about Astroneer first. Sure. And let's just show the beginning, which I would love to show the whole thing, but because it's a fantastic trailer. But people are always asking, like, should I do that teaser at the beginning, like the movie trailers do, where they say the trailer starts now?
Yeah, we had Technodge saying, thanks for doing this. I was wondering if Derek sees the 6-second bumper at the front of a movie trailer making their way into games, and if there's a better way to capture the attention.
Yeah, we're going to talk about exactly that. So Astroneer did it the movie trailer style, which we're just show the beginning here. Okay, and then it gets into the story. Which go back, watch the whole thing on your own. We're not going to watch it all now, but watch the Astroneer release trailer. Just another get the tissues. Super good, but that works. I call that like the brute force way of grabbing the attention of the audience, which according to like focus group studies and stuff, that does work. It's not like super elegant in my mind. I like to do something that is just, I don't know, I think it's more interesting. No offense to Astroneer. So if you get the trailer for The Almost Gone, that's a trailer that I did. Okay, like that's it. Like you don't have to show the rest. But like also that's like how I do like all my trailers. It's like cold open, logo, then to the next thing.
Yeah.
But so for this one, opening shot, the very beginning, if we can just go back to the very first frame of this. Here's the game screen. We have an inventory. I'm gonna grab the crowbar and open this door. It's like, okay, I understand this genre. It's like, oh, what's coming out of the doors? So like that's me doing the like, okay, let's show the genre. Okay, escape room. And then hook, oh, it's dark and weird and messed up. And that's, I mean, hopefully you think that's hooky. The comments on this one were very nice from what I remember. But if you can do it that way, then great, no problem. You don't have to do the whole like rigmarole of trailer starts now. Now, I think when it does make sense sometimes is when like your game it doesn't immediately grab in like one shot. Like there are a lot of games that they just like do a lot of stuff really well, but like in a screenshot doesn't necessarily say that. So you kind of need like a whole bunch of stuff to really get pulled in, because there might, from one shot, it might just be like, okay, it's a Metroidvania. But like through the combination of like, it's a Metroidvania, but X, Y, Z, blah, 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 blah. It's like, okay, that might be enough to get people in. But if there's something like really hooky, so pull up the trailer for Deliver at All Costs. This is another one that I worked on.
I believe, I don't know if they have multiple trailers, but I know that we had one of these that we premiered or at least showcased during the Unity Awards last year, which I hosted with Larry.
Yeah, so check out this opening. This is the trailer I made too.
We Deliver is hiring. Hurry over to their main office on 13 Farrell Street.
I should go there ASAP. Desperately need a job.
Oh, come on. Mr. Palmer left the car in reverse.
Winston, sir,
You
Winston
don't need to
Green.
show the rest. But yeah, so the trailer starts. It's like isometric perspective, guy walking around. It's okay, it's that genre of game, as much that is a genre. But that does have a lot of genre indicators. It's like, okay, what's next? Oh, I back up into the building, and the building falls over, and then stuff keeps falling. Okay, okay. So that's like the arc that you want for like the emotions of the audience going in. It's like, what is this? Okay, I got it. But what is? Okay, interesting. And like the problem is a lot of trailers, they don't even start off with the like, okay, got it. Most trailers, not most trailers, a lot of trailers are like, okay, right. And it goes on for a while. And like a minute later, like, oh, okay, it's a tactical shooter or something like that. You don't want that. If it's a captive audience at the Game Awards, then you have more leeway because it's a captive audience. But if it's on the Steam page, you kind of don't want to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Humans have like the lowest attention spans ever that in human history right now. If you're expecting someone to stick around for 60 seconds of raising an eyebrow to really fully understand what your game is and get excited about it, you're probably going to lose them by then, right?
Yeah, and also when people are saying like, oh, TikTok generation, whatever, attention spans so low, like, also, if you watch like 60 Minutes or Murder, She Wrote, they do the same thing. Like Murder, She Wrote says like, this is what the episode's about. 60 Minutes says, these are the 3 stories that we're telling. So it's not exactly like it's like this downward spiral of attention span. Like we just want to know what we're going to get if we're going to be committing a certain amount of time. And we're in a certain mindset if the amount of time is an hour, 90 seconds or 2 minutes, and like we're procrastinating from work or something like that. So you got to think about the audience, like their headspace that they're in when they're going to be watching your trailer and respect their time.
Sorry, I got distracted by Unparalleled Dev, who said my uncle is in an episode of Murder, She Wrote, and for some reason that caught me.
Amazing.
All right, so this is awesome. Is there anything else that we want to kind of showcase as the building blocks for a trailer? I know it looks like you've got like a structure graph map.
Really
if
quick.
we could show that as well.
I have this in a video I made called like you can pull up the diagram. I have a trailer editing video on my YouTube channel called like the 3x structure of a trailer. And this is what I usually tell people is like, okay, you need a cold open, which could be any number of things, but it's just something to hook the audience. And intensity is relative. So like what's intense for like a cozy game versus a horror game is different, but it's just something hooky. And then you can think about it like Metroid games where like you have all your abilities at the beginning, but then they take them away. It's like, ooh, you got a little taste of what it's like to be like full-powered Samus. And then after that, then we reset, and then this like tutorial section, and then we're building the structure of like what the gameplay loop is, and then adding on new twists and turns. And then by the end, hopefully they're super interested, and then you cut to title card, and then maybe you have a little thing at the end, like another extra tease.
Yeah.
If you map this to the Spiritfarer trailer, it actually starts down because they're like all asleep at the beginning. So it's actually like, doesn't have that thing, but like it still just really works, I think. But like, this is something you just like vaguely think about while you're going along, because you just don't want your trailer to be like monotone, where it just kind of feels like same energy all the time, which is related to the music. Just get good music. Really good music.
A lot of the work.
It is all your work. Just all the work. All of the work. You have like no work left if you have good music.
Yeah, interestingly, there were a lot of questions. There continues to be a lot of questions about music. Like I mentioned, someone asked about balancing your own music versus like your licensed music. Is it more valuable to go out of your way and get licensing for a trailer as an indie studio with a lower budget? Is that usually prohibitive, trying to go and find like some licensed or recognizable music?
So I've worked in all different scenarios. So usually I start with the music from the game just because it's from the game. So it's going to have the flavor of the game. It was made with the game in mind. And if I can edit together a few music cues and just have it work for the trailer, like amazing, Yahtzee. I did that for a trailer I did for Katana Zero. Like they just sent me the music. I'm like, ooh, this works great. And I didn't ask them for any help. But a lot of times maybe I have a cue that's like 95% of the way there, but just needs like an ending to just finish it off. So I made trailers for Nobody Saves the World, which has music by Jim Guthrie. And I used his music and then said, can you like not necessarily trailerize this, but just like pump this up a little bit and add an endings. And he did that for that. But sometimes if there just like actually is like no time or no composer yet, then yeah, I'll use a trailer music company and like send them a brief about what the game is. And they send me a whole bunch of versions, and I'll find one that's like in budget that has the right vibe. That's really, really hard. Music searching is just like the worst part of trailer editing if you have to do it. Like in movies, from my experience there, it's just awful. But like if you don't have a composer who can make something custom, then it can work. But like to have a good music cue from a music licensing company, it can be like a few $100s. I mean, there's some that are like, $50, which if it's a site where the cue's gonna be like $50, you're just gonna have to be searching a lot more to find a really good one, because they're just usually not as like trailery in those sorts of spaces. I mean, they could also easily be in like thousands of dollars if you use like a very reputable movie trailer music company.
Sure.
So it depends on what you have.
Yeah, I think the more we do any form of content about how to do X, Y, and Z, there's always it depends. But yeah, kind of having the overview that it's a starting point, right? I kind of want to take a look now at, I know we pulled up like a section here for indie versus AAA. Would we rather dive into that or kind of jump ahead here into like what genres are particularly difficult? When should you seek professional help? What are you feeling here, Derek?
let's just show up the Assassin's Creed Brotherhood one, just because
Great.
it's like my favorite trailer ever.
Love that.
Like AAA has a different set of problems than indie do, but they still
Right.
they don't have the completely different problems. They still have to show gameplay, which I know is not always possible depending on where they are in development. But like I think a lot of AAA trailers can just like kind of live in their lore and their story a little bit too much, because again, the gameplay plus the story changes everything. But like the AAA also has this problem where a lot of them have like really realistic graphics, which is like kind of the floor at this point, which is really sad because I'm sure it's a ton of work to do. But like they need to, it's just harder to show the thing that is different, or maybe the thing that's different isn't that different. So if that's the case, they just have to do a better job of showing what is there, which means like really good capture, really like well thought out structure, like really trying to like really front load the thing that's different, as opposed to like you're running through all the things that are conventional, like, okay, third person cover shooter has these many guns, it has a shotgun. It's like, okay, just find the thing that is in there that people will say like, ooh, that's different. And then if you can front load that, then all that conventional stuff will be in that context of like, oh, it's an enemy where when you shoot them, whatever happens. Like, I've never seen an enemy of that type. Now these shotguns and machine guns are interesting, but if you put the machine guns and shotguns at the beginning, you don't know about the special enemy, then it's like, okay, another game with a shotgun and machine guns. But this Assassin's Creed Brotherhood trailer, this is for the multiplayer mode, which I loved, but this is like one of my favorite trailers like ever for games.
Perfect. I like it. I'm looking forward to this one.
We have fought against the assassins. Now, fellow Templars, we will win this war once and for all.
That is a hype trailer.
It is so good.
Yeah.
And this is a good example of like, where's the line of real gameplay versus like sort of a cinematic representation of the experience, because there's a lot of like trickery in this. There's like the barbers like looking. I actually talked to the people who made this trailer, and there's stuff in here like that smoke cloud. I think they did in After Effects or something like that to like enhance it.
Oh,
this
cool.
one here, like there's no way for the barber character to like look over to the right or something like that, so the eyes are messed up there. Not messed up, they're altered, so then that enhances the storytelling. But like this whole trailer is just like, what does Assassin's Creed multiplayer look like? And it gets the feeling and the idea, even though it's not showing like real gameplay. It is in engine, but clearly like all the angles are custom. Like none of these are like a player character controlled camera. And as much as people poo-poo gameplay trailers that are cinematic or whatever, like if you get it right, people don't care. They're like, if the game came out and like it didn't feel like way at all, like it's not a good multiplayer, then be like, oh, that trailer lied to me. But if the trailer is like, oh, that's totally what it feels like to play, but like amped up, then people like, yeah, I love that trailer. As much as people say like, oh, gameplay trailers, they're so dishonest. It's like it's so hard to do, especially at this budget level, and all the tools that you have at your disposal, which are kind of like irresistible to use if you have them. So sometimes I think people can, be so caught up in whether or not they can, they don't stop to think if they should. But if it's in service of the story and the gameplay concepts, then it can really, really work well.
Yeah. The Bull was asking earlier, are cinematic trailers, thinking Blizzard style, only plausible for AAA studios in terms of budget and access to tools? Is that likely the case?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
A CG trailer, I've heard estimates, it could start at like $10,000 per second.
Ooh, per second, Derek?
You got all these people. You have animators, you have the riggers, you have VFX, you have motion capture artists, you have sound design, and 2D animated trailers can also, I think it's like 1,000 per second. It can be less if you have bad working conditions, but like a good like professional like 2D animated trailer can be like $1,000 per second.
Yeah.
So don't announce with an animated trailer if you're indie, if you're not known already. Slay the Spire can do it because they're Slay the Spire. Yeah. And when they do Slay the Spire 2, they're like, oh my God, hype. That's what the Silent looks like in this world. But if you're just coming out with this new game, no one's ever heard of you, you come up with an animated trailer, then what's stop people from thinking it's just an animated show? And then if the trailer looks like super duper different from the gameplay, then people could think, oh, I'm trying to cover up for what the game looks like. I'm trying to wow you with this thing. Yeah. And hope that you'll like the gameplay when it comes along. But if it like lines up really well, then it can work. Cult of the Lamb did it really well because Cult of the Lamb's animation style is already very cartoony. It's Devolver. So they have that going for them. But like, they're so expensive. So like you have to really know what you're doing. Like have it be in front of a showcase, be on the Game Awards or Wholesome or something like that at the very least, because if you just upload it to your YouTube channel with like 5 subscribers, then no one's going to see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I always get excited at I'm wearing a Cult of the Lamb t-shirt.
Oh, nice.
It's like a metal shirt. Oh, it's one of my favorites. Anyhow, back to the show. Enough about my t-shirt. Derek, I think an important question for people, right? We're trying to equip them with their own building blocks and fundamentals that if they wanted to go and create their own trailer, they could. I think an important question to ask is, when do you need professional help? When is it outside of the scope of your own abilities as a game dev where you might want to go seeking? I
think everyone, if they can afford it, either through a publisher or investor, like get professional help.
Sure.
But if you have a game that's not super duper hooky from a screenshot or even a few shots, then it makes sense to get a professional to really help out. And why don't you bring up the trailer for Neurocracy? The trailer is made by my friend Samantha M. Greer, who did an amazing job for a game that looks incredibly hard to trailer, but she did an amazing job. Watch this.
I could see why that would be tough. I could see why that would be a difficult trailer to create.
The other really smart thing that they did for this trailer was the pull quotes help you understand what the game is.
Yeah.
I hate when Accolades trailers just say like, this game is great. It's like, well, of course you're going to put that one, but like, give me something like, something that helps me understand this game. It's not just self-aggrandizing. It helps you understand the game mechanics and the design. Great. Real quick, can we do the trailer for Celeste?
Ooh, absolutely.
Great game, but like on paper, it's like, okay, pixel art platformer game. That's really good, but and so that's made by my friend Kurt Gartner again. But yeah, I mean, Celeste, it's just, again, it's one of those games just does a lot of stuff really well, but like doesn't immediately stand out when you look at a screenshot. So this trailer is just really well put together. It tells a story, also has really good eye trace. So you watch when she's running around the screen, it's always matching between the cuts.
Smart.
So it's really done that way. And like what you get when you have a professional is like every shot matters. Every shot communicates something. It's just like really dense with information, but also makes you feel things. So that's the benefit, hopefully, that you get. Of course, not all trailer editors are created equal. But versus if maybe you make your own trailer, it might just have like kind of like a lot of cruft where it's like, okay, why was that shot there? I don't know what's going on over there. It's everything, when it's done well, it's just super clear. It's making you feel what they want you to be feeling at that moment. You're getting the information that you want, and it's interesting. It's not just like raw data. So the difference between sometimes like an amateur trailer versus a professional one is kind of like if you read a lot of like kids books, if you read like a book about like excavators or something like that, like a nonfiction excavator book would be like, an excavator picks up dirt, an excavator carries dirt, an excavator carries dirt to the dump, and like it's like mind numbing. But you got the information. But like a really good book about like excavators, maybe there's like sound effects in there that's like fun to say, and it tells a little story about this. I'm thinking about specifically. There's a book called Little Excavator by Anna Dewdney.
Okay, you got one in mind. Okay, good.
Yeah. And it has this little story about this little excavator. He's like trying out, but they're too little, so they can't really do the big jobs. And it has all these sound effects and stuff in it. It makes it fun to read. It's easy to repeat. And I can repeat the one that's nonfiction, but it's like really boring and I want to fall asleep. And like a trailer can be like that. The difference between like one that's like emotionally connecting versus one that's like, we just put the bullet points into this trailer and then hoped that, it might as well be B-roll, but it's 90 seconds and there's some music underneath it. So that's what hopefully you don't get that in any capacity, but like if you don't have a lot of experience, it can feel like that.
Sure.
But of course, hiring a professional is very expensive. So if someone like a publisher is paying the bills, great. If you're like a solo developer who's like making your first game, probably don't. Like, pay for some of your capsule art, but probably not your trailer because it's going to be at least a few $1,000s. Right. And that's a lot of money to just like be like a solo dev whose budget is basically invisible because you're just, it's whatever you're eating every single day. And you're just literally eating into your savings. But if you're more established, And if you're running payroll every week, or you're paying all your programmers and whatever, then absolutely get a professional, because otherwise you're paying professional game developers to be amateur trailer editors. And you're not getting your dollar value if you pay your programmer whatever per week, but you make them do something they've never done before.
Right.
So you're actually losing money
I like that.
in like business terms.
Yeah, I like the way
Take off
that
my
that
business
sits in
hat.
my head. Exactly. Yeah. So again, I like this. I just want to hammer home the point that some genres are inherently difficult. I know we kind of discussed previously as well, Derek, like RTS games, a lot of narrative, not like visual novels, like how those are tough. So yeah, as a rule of thumb of when to look for additional help, that might be a good kind of guiding philosophy for sure.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that we want to touch on, Derek, ourselves before we dive into some community Q&A? And we also have a giveaway to do. So
just real quickly, since you mentioned visual novels, let's watch the trailer for Amaranthus. This is a trailer by my friend Gary J. Kings. He did a great job. And because like visual novels, I get so many people ask me like, how do you do a trailer for a visual novel? And I'm always saying like, you have to give the audience what they want, which is usually story and character. Whereas so many visual novel trailers are just like motion graphics, like portfolio reels, where it's like, you got these characters and this is fire and whatever. It's like, I'm not getting anything, but like watch this trailer and it's for a visual novel. It's really well done.
Great.
So good music. Keeps the dialogue short. That's the other thing. I talked about visual overload before. A lot of times there's a dialogue box, just way too much text there. No one's ever going to read that, which in some contexts, if you can sort of signal through the editing that you're not really meant to read it all, then that's fine. I mean, I'm saying that because I made a trailer for the game called Mandrake, and there's definitely scenes in that where there's lots of text. You're not supposed to read it all. But here, like, he does a really good job of keeping all the dialogue short. Even during the dialogue selection scenes, like you only see the dialogue that you're sort of hovering over. Also, good rule of thumb, if you have text on the screen, make sure it's up on the screen so you can read it twice really quickly. A lot of times people just text is on for too short, like, oh, where'd it go? It's that scene from Simpsons when they're watching the silent film and Milhouse is saying, a chance for more So two times really quickly. That's how long the text should be on, ideally.
Perfect. No, I like that a lot.
But yeah, that's a good one for visual novels.
Yeah. There's a lot of learnings here, and people are already Nemo on YouTube saying cool tips. Like, I feel like it's been consistent throughout the entirety, just little nuggets here and there, kind of mixed in with the overall sense of learnings. But I think we have been moving at an incredible pace, given how many trailers we've prepped and how many we've been able to watch. I want to change gears here. We're going to open up a giveaway. We're going to be giving away, Derek, what did we say? 5 promo codes?
I think it was 5.
Okay. I don't want to give away more than you planned. You know what I mean?
I mean, I'm fine if it's 5. I could just change
if it was 3, we'll go 3. You just let me know.
I'll have to check while you're talking.
Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to open up a giveaway here. Video Game Trailer Academy is something that Derek runs and has put together that basically provides in-depth knowledge and learnings on how you can make your own trailers. There's a lot in there. The course is typically $349, and this coupon code is going to bring it all the way down to $49. So
I will caveat this. So this course, I basically made it so then that it's everything before the editing process, because like teaching editing is like, I can't imagine how big that course would be.
Right.
So this is like, looking at your game and really making those hard decisions, like what is the hook? What is the thing that is more interesting than what's the hook? What's the anchor? What should I show in the trailer? What should the outline be? All this stuff before you really start like really editing, which there's so much that can change in the editing process, but I just don't have the time to make an editing course. So it is also kind of like just like you could think of it as like a big marketing exercise too, because thinking about your game in these terms just is good for marketing. It is 5 coupons.
Perfect. So we will set this up. I'm opening it now. The giveaway is taking place on twitch.tv/Unity. So if you're watching on YouTube, hop over there really quickly. It'll take you no time at all to create an account. You're going to put in !giveaway in the Twitch chat. That is going to enter you into a completely random drawing. We will pull 5 winners, and then I will be sending the winners messages. But I'll explain that once we pull those winners. Let's take a couple of minutes here while people are entering for that coupon code to go through some Q&A that we have pulled throughout the stream here. Let me see if I can find you some good ones here.
The other thing, really quick,
please.
People are always asking, like, how much of this part of my game should I put into the trailer?
Yeah.
Very common question. Good question. Just look at your game and look at like proportionally how much significance does a certain feature have in that game. Okay. So you think about like Naughty Dog game, you have Uncharted 2. It's like shooting, climbing, puzzle solving, cutscenes. It should be kind of balanced. You could make a version of an Uncharted trailer where it's like 95% climbing, but it wouldn't be representative of the whole thing. So like think about this and like really try to find 1, 2, maybe 3 ideas that you want people to take away after they've watched your trailer. Because if you just tell them it has this and this and this and this and it has everything, then there's nothing stands out at all. You want like 1 or 2 things ideally that maybe people could like Google because they've forgotten the name of your game, and then your game comes up in this ideal circumstance. So like try to just really think, what are the core things that we're trying to communicate? Because if you tell people 8 things, they're not going to remember them all. Like think of it this way. Think about one of your friends or family members. How would you describe them to someone else? So like my friend Robbie, he's a video editor. He does camping videos. He's like a major backpacker, and he loves cleaning his workspace. My friend Julio, he's Puerto Rican. He's super good at Kung Fu, knows everything about beer. That's Julio.
Julio's cool.
Julio.
I mean, both
Julio is cool.
You got cool friends, Derek.
Shout out to Julio. But like, think about your game in that way, and maybe 3 at most. But like, think of just if it has a thing that is like a very critical part of it, then it should be in the trailer, and it should be proportionally significant in that trailer. It's like show it multiple times. Okay.
Sorry, I'm providing the link and information in both chats here. Enter !giveaway at twitch.unity.com. So while you guys are doing that, there was a couple of questions that came up. Mr. Awesome and Lem both asked about localization. How important is it to have a trailer localization, and are the methods to make that easier? If you operate in multiple markets, how do you handle that localization process?
I don't know how important it is, because I don't have like metrics or something like that I mean, that is a bonus for if you make a trailer with virtually no text or no text at all. You don't have to localize it. If you can do subtitles and there's dialogue in there, great. I also always recommend people do hand-timed and handwritten captions for the trailers, just because it makes it that much nicer to watch. Because I hate YouTube captions where it's 1 word at a time. It's a very unpleasant experience. Whenever I get a YouTube video where it's like custom-made captions, I'm like, oh, this person gets it. So do it for a trailer. It's like 90 seconds long. Learn how to do captions. It makes a big difference. But like graphics, if you have motion graphics, and then it can add up a lot, but I don't actually know how much a difference it makes. If you show gameplay, then that covers all languages, unless it's a visual novel in 1 language.
Then it's different, definitely.
Even then, you might still get it. If you have right music and right feel, then it might be fine.
Gotcha. Nicolas Moreno, I think, says, do you have any recommendations for platforms for finding and hiring trailer editors for video games?
No, actually. But like, honestly, just go to my website and go to my contact form, and I'll give you some recommendations.
Perfect. That's actually
I also
what I was gonna do.
actually for if rather than fill up my inbox, I'm on Blue Sky, and it's like derek-lieu.com, and I have a starter pack of game trailer editors and video editors. Not all of them are people that I know personally, but that's a good place to start.
Right.
But I do, if I'm either not a good fit for a project or timing doesn't work out or something like that, I do send referrals. So feel free to just email me and I'll give you a bunch of good people.
There we go.
But like places like Fiverr and Upwork, like I think you'll probably get a trailer that is very like bullet pointy, because if they're telling you that they're going to make a trailer for you in 3 days, that's kind of all you have time to do is like title card gameplay, which, you know, maybe there's someone on Fiverr who's just completely undervaluing themselves and doing amazing work. But like, if they're going to tell you they're going to make a trailer for you in like just a few days and you send them all the footage or whatever, then it's probably not going to be that interesting.
Gotcha. And I've put links again for Derek's website as well as your Blue Sky account. So again, if you want to connect, we encourage you to. Please go and check out Derek wherever you're able to. I think we'll have time for one more here. We'll pull our winners and then we'll wrap up here. But the Bull is asking, how much access do you need to source the project? Do you need just footage? Do you actually need to be able to get into the game as an editor? What do you want studios to come prepared with, type of thing, when they request a trailer?
Like 99% of what I capture is from a build. Like I don't know Unity or Unreal. Like I know like very, very little bit, like enough to be like, oh my God, games are a miracle.
Yeah.
You know, so, but like 99% of the time it's from a build, and what I need are good debug options, which if you look up Derek Lieu debug options, I did a whole GDC talk about it. I've done a bunch of talks, articles about debug options for specifically like saving time, or the concepts you should think about when making a special marketing camera for your game if you have a 3D game.
Right.
Yeah, it's usually from a build, and I only ask for footage if it's a game with a really high skill ceiling. Like I did the announced trailer for Sifu, and I'm not good at playing Sifu by any stretch, and it would take a really long time for me to get good at it. So the developers sent me that footage. Perfect. Or if it's maybe a multiplayer game sometimes, and maybe I can't get into a session with them and direct.
Yeah. I like it a lot. All right. And with that, we are going to close up our giveaway. Thank you to everybody who's entered here. I'm about to pull 5 winners. If you win and you hear your name, I will be reaching out to you via Twitch DMs in the next couple of days, probably within the next 48 hours. If you win, I will connect with you and send you a code that Derek has provided us that will allow you to go in and get that discount. So again, only trust the Unity account, and we're never going to ask you for any personal information. So just be cautious out there, everybody. And with this, we've got our winners en route. We had Zimmy002. Congratulations. We had Canadian Corn Dog. Love that name. Congrats to you as well. We got Grash Ariza. We have Lost Soul Oni. And last but not least, we've got Chuliol. So congratulations to all of those names. Again, keep an eye out on your Twitch DMs. You might have to take a look at your settings, as some people set DMs to do not allow. So keep an eye out for those messages, and I'll get you that information. So thank you, everybody here, for entering that giveaway, and congrats to the winners. Derek, I want to say a massive thank you to you for this. Not only did you come in fully equipped, you provided us with so many trailer examples that we didn't even get to. So thank you so much for the work that you put in, not just the time being here, but everything you did to prep and bring all of your knowledge and experience to the Unity community. I'm very, very grateful. So thank you so much.
Thank you. It was a really fun show to put on.
Good. I'm very glad. And last time here, everybody, please go and check out Derek's channels. Derek, we're going to kick you backstage, but we'll pop in and say goodbye in just a second here. So please go and check out Derek's channels, Derek's website, all of that good stuff. And Unity community, we've done it. We made it to the end here. We are live on these channels twice a week, most weeks. So please come on back and check out these streams whenever you are able, whether you're looking for Unity specific content or engine agnostic how-to guides. We have some great stuff for you here. If you have a recommendation or curiosity, something you want to learn about, please drop it in the YouTube comments of this channel. And if you watched or joined this stream in the middle, it will be available on YouTube immediately following this if you wanted to go back to the very beginning. Our next stream will be on Thursday this week. We are bringing back the legend themselves. Ben Cloward is joining us to show off new shader graph features and to tutorialize two of the most commonly used shaders. So come on back and check that one out on August 7th at 12 p.m. Eastern. That's 9 a.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. GMT. It is Shader Graph Day, August 7th. Come on back. Unity community, a big thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you so very much. A shout out one more time to Derek and to Jack working behind the scenes to put this stream together. Thank you all. We will see you again soon. But until I do, my name is Jackson. Have a great rest of your day, everybody.